Rachel's going to start focusing purely on that internal shape first, as there's quite a lot of length that's going to be coming off. This is what's important to get right first and foremost. After she's done the internal shape, she can then have a look at anything external and make any alterations within the external. The first section was cut off the base of the head on that vertical to diagonal axes. Then she's worked section 2 back to number 1, and then section 3 back to number 2. So there's a very slight bit of over direction on each and every section that she's cutting back to the previous, which will retain more of a squarish shape on the horizontal axes, which will really be nice for the perimeter. So she's going to be working a pivot section technique, working with the length retained from the occipital bone area and then cutting through on a square shape. This technically will just be a continuation of a build-up of length and weight in towards the top area of the head through the crown, which will be an extension of the graduation underneath the occipital bone area. It's a very simple and classic way to achieve a graduated feel and look through the crown area. The magical thing about the way that the pivot sections work is not only are you creating and building up that length with the square cutting line, but you're also creating a rounded shape on the horizontal axes with the pivot sections. We've now created a section running through the contour of the head where the recession meets the back of the head. Rachel's now going to be working a finger depth section at the top of that area, working with the point cutting technique to connect into the back area of the head. She's using the length from the back, as this is a good indication of the length internally that we currently have. She's then working something slightly triangular, becoming longer at the front, meaning that the length is still gradually getting longer and longer in towards the front of the face. This is technically what a graduated bob is, where it's shortest at the back in the center and longer towards the front of the face, so it frames the chin and jawline area. The pivot sections are going to work from the center at the back of the head, where she has her length already, and she'll be working a triangular shape from shorter to longer from the back to the front. This will create a very fluid round shape horizontally, and again a triangular shape on the vertical axes, working from shorter internally, longer externally. This runs alongside the classic example of what a graduated bob should and would look like. Rachel's now going to focus her attention on the perimeter of the haircut, where she's combed it into a natural full position whilst the hair is still quite damp and wet, and she's going to work some slicing to really soften up the external line. She's not going to be punching in any strong outlines through this haircut, but more so a more dynamic, more softer, more movable finish on the perimeter. Once the perimeter through the back has been completed, Rachel's going to over direct the side panels in towards the corner of the head, which will start to in turn create a connection visually on the longer layers at the front to the shorter layers at the back. We can see that she's cutting a line from longer into shorter, where the shorter is connecting in towards the length above the ear and the longer is becoming the face framing shape over the jawline area. We can see that Rachel's working the V of the scissor to work that slicing technique through the damp hair into the front to start to refine the line and take away density and soften out the perimeter of the haircut. She's working with 2 hands on the scissor to have lots of control and just thinning out the areas that need some density removed out of. Because of the detail that Rachel's used on this haircut and the systematic approach that she's taken, there's actually very little personalizing to do, as the hair is sitting in such a beautiful way that she only really wants to refine the line around the edges and take some density away from the side panels where she's left the hair longer. But in terms of how the hair's sitting and the texture that she's got running through it, a lot of that work will have been done in the way that she cut it. Like any haircut, it's all about visualizing the final look and the way that you want the hair to sit and move at this final stage, which is generally very visual and also very personal. So she's just going to pull the hair around, move it around and see how it's starting to sit, and just break into any of the dense areas that will give it a little bit more life and movement through those edges. Although we can see that the haircut looks great away from the face and in more of a side parting, we are going to be styling it a little bit more classically in how this graduated bob haircut would want to sit on a daily basis. So we're working with the classic look in terms of the middle parting and how you would see a graduated bob, but Rachel's definitely added her own personality and spice into the styling and most definitely the haircut. We can see with the finished look that the client really suits this length around the jawline and around the face, and how it really frames her look for this quirky, on-trend, modern graduated bob look. We hope that you've enjoyed watching this haircutting tutorial done by Rachel D. We hope to see you on the next Academy Collection video.